I cheated on my husband. What should I do to get him back? At the suggestion of several users, I post here to have a better understanding and seek advice. As the publication says, I, 39 female, cheated on my husband, 41 male, with a coworker, but I must give you more context about my current situation. My affair began in mid-2019 and was discovered in the first days of January 2020. I have been married to my husband for more than 17 years. We were high school sweethearts who everyone, without exception, knew would end up together. At the therapist's suggestion, he told me to vent without holding anything back. During our marriage, we had 3 daughters, my oldest daughter who is in college and 2 twins who are in their teens. As the title says, I cheated on my husband, the most tender, kind, responsible, and loving man that could exist in the world. Why did I do it? I still don't have an answer to that question. What did I hope to achieve? I still don't know. My husband was a man who always put my needs before his own. Our bedroom was in full bloom. He is an attractive man, he is fit, and he is a dedicated father. To his princesses, as he himself calls them, before I was the queen of his home, the queen who had granted him 3 princesses, but now I am just she, just a woman who lives with him. My adventure began with a simple flirtation, and in September it became physical. From September until the first days of January, until my husband found out, the great love of my life, crying, and only when I saw that pain on his face, an expression of disbelief, sadness, and anger. Only then did I realize the consequences of my actions. I went several weeks without communication. When my daughters asked about their father, out of embarrassment, I told them that their father had a last-minute business trip. I know, I'm a coward for lying to my daughters. After countless attempts to contact him, he answered my calls, asked me to please send our daughters to my parents and take some time alone for the both of us. So I did. One fateful Friday, January 24th, a conversation took place that would set us adrift. The first thing I did, when I saw him enter the room, was kneel at his feet and ask him to please forgive me, and we are stronger than any mistake you have made. I begged him, humiliating myself, anything so he could see past my actions. The only response to my pleas, you shouldn't humiliate yourself. There was no further response, and it helped me compose myself. We talked about our relationship. We talked for hours, and as more time passed, I got the idea that we could get over it. But my perception of reality was further away than reality itself. He told me that during this time separated, he was actively looking for a divorce lawyer, and everyone he consulted gave the same answer. In our city, they recognize the woman as the family unit. Therefore, if we divorce, he would have to give me the house. The only time we would have to spend time with our daughters would be on the weekends. In addition to the spousal and alimony for our children, and added to the other thing is that our city is recognized as without fault, therefore, it pays. The one who wants to destroy the family. When he said that, I couldn't help but cry hysterically and ask him for a chance to make amends. But he told me that even if we don't get divorced, our marriage is over. He has no intention of giving up his house, his family, and his finances for an unfaithful WH**. I'm going to be honest, that last part hurt me beyond any physical pain. It was the first time in many years of marriage that my husband insulted/disowned me. COVID-19 came, and that entire year was unbearable. We slept in separate rooms. The only contact between us was about restocking the pantry, taking out the trash, or any need our daughters had. Beyond that, there was nothing to discuss. The year 2022 improved, but only in appearances. We slept together again, and so to speak, but only to keep up appearances. He doesn't kiss me, he doesn't touch me, and we have been intimate, but he makes it clear to me when we finish that it's just for his needs and not to get my hopes up. We have reached normality. Now we can talk about more things, but there is still that invisible wall that has been built between us. We attend both individual and couples therapy, but we always end up at the same point. Can we be in a loving marriage again? Couples who have overcome infidelity have become a loving marriage again. Can we love each other again like before? What to do? How to overcome this? How did other couples overcome infidelity? Edit. I have had time to read the comments on my posts, plus messages to the intern who sent me supportive words and new perspectives on how to deal with my situation. I appreciate the good and bad messages. However, as my therapist said, immersing myself in self-loathing is harmful. This is not an update. These are clarifications that I have to make in my publication so that they have more context to my reality. 1. I did not threaten my husband that if we divorced, I would take away his assets and time with our daughters. No. Because of the translator, this is misinterpreted. My husband actively sought lawyers, and they all gave him the same answer. 2. When my affair was discovered, as a way of showing my remorse, I confessed everything about my affair, and because of that, my PA and I were fired as a matter of company policy. 3. My husband refuses to tell everyone about my affair, largely, in my opinion, because of his bruised ego. Plus, since I am close to our daughters, he doesn't want to force them to take sides. It's more than I deserve, yes. 4. During these years, I have actively instigated my husband to open our unilateral marriage on his part. Plus, I once organized a /*Zool encounter with several women. It went so badly that he practically gave me an ultimatum. If I ever mentioned anything about open marriages or threesomes again, I would immediately file for divorce no matter what the consequences. 5. I have lost all contact with AP since the discovery of everything in January 2020. 6. We attend couples therapy and I am in individual therapy. 7. My husband does not mistreat me. Sometimes it kills me. His indifference towards me and the strongest word he has said to me since we started our relationship is unfaithful whore, but from there he has never physically hurt me or degraded me. 8. Our daughters do not know anything about my cheating. We give an impression of being the couple of the year in the eyes of third parties. It is ironic. Sometimes other couples approach me to ask me how we do to be always well. We give an impression of still being in love as the first day of marriage. Update. For those who don't know the context of my situation, I'm marking the link to the original post. First, I want to thank all those who sent me positive private messages with advice and experiences about infidelities. Each of the experiences read were more terrible than the other due to the damage caused to the betrayed spouse. These experiences made me realize once again the weight of my past actions, rethinking the damage I caused to my husband. As many advised, I decided to contact a lawyer and draft an agreement so that in the event we divorce, he can keep most of the assets he has acquired over the years during our marriage. Of course, this action caught him off guard. At first, he was doubtful about the reliability of the contract, even contacting a lawyer to review the veracity of the document. The second step I followed is how I voluntarily performed a DNA test on our daughters to remove any doubts about paternity that I had about them, and out of fear, he did not want to do them, thinking that one of our daughters would not count on a blood relationship with him. As a third point, we were finally able to talk about ourselves. It was a very emotional talk on the part of both of us, where I made clear the position that if he wants to separate from me, I am willing to accept the divorce. During all these years, I flatly denied even thinking about the possibility of divorcing my husband. I used the relationship I have with my daughters to my advantage and practically made him a prisoner in our own marriage. We agreed to a separation of several months with the following conditions. 1. We are not even allowed to interact with others during this period of separation. For my part, I made it clear to him that if he wanted to meet other women during this process, he could do so, but he should tell me beforehand. This suggestion came from me more out of my own due guilt and shame to my past actions. 2. Seek individual and couples advice to see if we have the opportunity to start over in our marriage. We are not in the process of restoration, due to my selfishness alone, and without anyone's help destroyed my marriage. We found an excellent counselor who in turn recommended us to another couples counselor who, in my opinion, is also excellent. We were able to talk about everything, and that made us see the damage we had caused to each other. I was able to know my husband's wounded heart, how this affected his confidence and his way of seeing life in general. On the other hand, I developed self-destructive tendencies. For example, if my husband was in a bad mood one day, he would immediately blame me for anything that bothered him. I would respond to any request he had because in my head that was fine because I had to compensate them for all the damage I had done as a result of my infidelity. For now we continue like this. It has been a few months of reconnecting. Not as a couple but as friends. Start dating without commitment but being attentive parents to our daughters. My individual counselor encouraged me to vent, and what better than to write a story for a group of strangers like Reddit, and also encouraged me to write a diary and give it to my husband with each of my thoughts of how I saw our married life. My thoughts before / during / after the adventure. What a change in me compared to the beginning of the adventure and after being caught, and thus ending my adventure. Due to these actions, my husband developed tendencies towards BDSM, and from there I developed self-destructive tendencies, since if we were being *Zool, there would be verbal and physical *SE on his part, and since I felt guilty I decided to accept his anger. We have a lot to work on and more days ahead. They will be easy or difficult, but it is up to us to prevail together as a team or face them alone. I hope that never comes. This is what has happened in these 4 months since my last post.